Hello and welcome to Guild Wars Players News, where we take a look at the news for the Guild Wars game series and talk about content on our site, Guild Wars Players. I am Sithirth, and today we have Draculetta,
Hey everybody, how's it going?
and we have Athelros.
Yes, I'm also here.
He is possibly alive, maybe.
Kind
Yeah, kind of. We've had a bit of a hiatus, but I mean, that's because, holidays, it's that kind of time of year when people go and do family type things. And our podcast is usually recorded on a Thursday, and Thursday was kind of a big holiday this year, so that didn't happen. So, despite taking a break for a week, we don't have a whole lot of game news to talk about because, as I said, not a whole lot really happens at this time of year for game news. We do have some new stuff in the Gem Store Drac, don't we? At least a few things.
There is a few things, not much. The shoulder scarf, if you want to get all wintry, isn't there?
I'm a fan of the scarf. Yeah.
I noticed you had one the other day when we were playing. I thought, oh, she bought herself a little scarf. I guess they kind of look okay. I guess if you're into that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely works better for some characters than others. Some characters it looks a little bit too oversized and kind of maybe swallows their head a little bit, but yeah, I'm a fan.
I have a question.
Yes.
On these miniatures, is Lord Farah meant to be in his underwear?
Yes.
Okay, that
Yes.
that clears it. Okay.
Mm-hmm. You can get a mini. I think there's a mini Lord Farron that's not in his underwear, but this is a festive.
He's festive, all right.
It's not the word I'd use,
and
but okay.
I'll just leave it at that. So yeah, there are some new miniatures, and I've seen a lot of those little naked Lord Farrons running around.
Yeah, I have seen a lot of Lord Farrons in his underwear minis. Lots of them.
Too many.
There's also a new finisher. If you need a new PvP finisher, it is the Minstrel finisher. A big giant chest plops down on your opponent, and a minstrel pops out and plays a song on his lute over the dead corpse of your foe.
That's fun.
It's
It's something.
it's something. That's really it. There's not a lot in the gem store, really.
Yeah, I've noticed some more sales on dyes and stuff.
Yeah,
but it's nothing really to write home about, honestly.
Say I looked today to see if there was anything that jumped out, and I just seen some dyes. There's the Artron model.
Oh yeah.
If you want a little Artron to follow you around, that's out. Some of the minis and the scarf. But I would think after this week we'll start getting more stuff as everybody gets back from their holiday.
Yeah, I hope so. Because yeah, I'm not super big into holiday and winter themed cosmetics. So yeah. Yeah, that's it for game news. But we do have a little bit of catching up to do for our site news since we did take a break. Tapco wrote up 2 new guides for the original Guild Wars game, and every time he writes another guide, I just get more confused about Guild Wars. Not because he's like writing badly about it, he's really detailed and it's great, but it's just like, wow, this game is crazy. Isn't it, Drac?
It is. It's if you haven't played Guild Wars and you would try to play it now and you're used to Guild Wars 2, you would just be like, what the heck is going on? It is.
That's what it seems like.
Yeah, it's night and day compared to what Guild Wars 2 is. It's still a great game, though, and Tapco's new guides pretty much lay out the basics fairly well. The first one he did was the Guild Wars character introduction. The biggest thing you have to do in Guild Wars is you have to choose if you want to make a purely PvP character or you want to make a PvE character. You can still make a PvP character and do PvE, but if you make a PvP only character, that's what your main purpose of the character is going to be. You get some extra skills that get unlocked automatically for you. So it helps you out. That's why I would recommend, if you're looking to PvP in Guild Wars, definitely when you're creating a character, choose the PvP option. You're going to make it much harder on yourself if you do the PvE option and then try to PvP with it. And then he kind of breaks down, if you want to, what classes you can play, which is, the Warrior, Ranger, Monk, Elementalist, Mesmer, and Necro. I will add the biggest difference between the two games is you can also dual class in Guild Wars. So you could be a Warrior Monk, for example, or a Ranger Necro, or however you would want to mix it up. You can choose your skills, and that's the other big difference between the two games is the only time you can pick your skills is when you're in town. So you kind of have to know what quest you're doing and what you're going to come up against, because your skills can only be changed in town. So you set your skills and then you go out and adventure, and then if you need to make a change, you have to go back to a town to do that. So that's another big difference. But Tapco kind of lays all that out. He kind of talks about the professions a little bit. Then he talks about skills. Which leads me into his next article. He also lays out a couple the other differences in the games, the Guild Wars tips, tricks, and terms. He tells you there's some terms,
some weird terms, like unlocking is a very specific thing in that game.
Yes, it
compared
is.
To others.
Yeah. And also the big difference between the original Guild Wars and Guild Wars 2, for example, and a lot of other games, is how money works.
Yeah.
One platinum
that was kind of weird.
Is actually 1,000 gold. And
so there's no silver in Guild Wars, correct? It's gold and platinum rather than...
Correct.
Okay.
Big thing in the first game is you're going for globs of ectoplasm, or ectos is what most people call them. That is what a lot of people use because that's what you need to craft your higher end armor.
Yeah, same in Guild Wars 2.
Yeah, and other things in the game. But it's a little easier. I'm not saying it's easy to get ecto in Guild Wars 2, but it's a heck of a lot easier than in the first game. The only way to get them in the first game is you have to go into the underworld, which is just...
does not sound nice.
It's a nightmare to go down there. I mean, you really have to be prepared, and you really have to know your class well to go down to the underworld, and then there's certain things that you have to do to get the ectos. So it's a little bit easier in the second game. And then he also offers some tips, which I highly recommend that you read, because he does lay out a lot of things I would tell a new player about Guild Wars. So if you're kind of interested, if you've never played Guild Wars and you're kind of interested, these articles that Tapco is doing is a good place to start. It'll lay stuff out for you, and if you have any other questions, you can ask either him or I. I'm sure we can point you in the right direction. But good job again, Tapco.
Yeah, those are awesome guides. So yeah, read those if you're interested in Guild Wars. This week we're also talking about 2 videos that we spotlighted on the site. So the first one is called Human and Char Years of War. And Thoros, do you want to talk about those?
Yeah, sure. This video was created by Chargwill, and it basically covers the history of the Char and human races, and it's not a pleasant one, to say the least.
No, but it is set to a nice pop song.
Yeah, which makes everything better. So yeah, this features some footage from the first game, and obviously the conflict, pretty heavy conflict they had back then, and also some from Guild Wars 2, of course. It's a very, very good video, and kind of shows a little bit of their past.
Then again, like the video from, I think it was last week or maybe a couple of weeks ago, I got a little misty-eyed when I seen some of the Guild Wars stuff, because it just reminded me of all of the times I spent running around those lands. Yeah. So yeah, it was a great video. Even if you've never played the first game, it's kind of gives you some little bit of insight on what exactly is going on.
And for a pop song, eerily accurate lyrics, really.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah, they chose well, I'll put it that way.
Yeah. And so the other video we have this week is actually a Guild Wars 2 cutscenes mashed up with the audio from the Hobbit: The Battle of the Five Armies trailer. Which is an interesting choice, but it works really well.
They also used the one song from Return of the King, which fits pretty much everything. Dramatic.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I think that song is in the Hobbit trailer, isn't it? Or
I would
did I dream that?
I think it's in one of them.
Okay.
I think I saw one trailer that had it in it, and then like the next trailer had a totally different song. But yeah, I think you're right.
Oh.
Well, that's meta.
So I'm not totally crazy.
Not totally, just slightly.
But yeah, so the footage they use for that is, I guess, the trailers that ArenaNet put out for the Dragon's Reach Part 2 Living World release thing.
Yeah. None of the images made any kind of sense to me, having not got there, but they did mesh them up to the audio very well.
Mm-hmm.
And Brax Wolf in the chat says he really liked the Hobbit one. So we have the Brax Wolf seal of approval on the video.
The Braxwood approval.
That's good. We can put it on the table. Anyway, so we also have two outfits. The first one is from Nathrian, who, if you play Lord of the Rings Online, you might know Nathrian as the owner of the Material Middle-earth cosmetic blog. And so they sent us a really great set of screenshots of Nathrian, the human elementalist. And this outfit is really great. It uses some of I think it's the human cultural armor, I believe. And it's like really pretty white and gold with little bits of violet and purple. Specifically, the dye colors Nathrian uses are Celestial, Thistle, and Antique Gold. And so the Elementalist looks really great. Great use of colors. Very nice.
Looking at this, I really need to do some outfits for my characters because this is just amazing.
Yeah, well, and especially Nathrian, if you looked at Nathrian's Lotro blog, they do great Lotro outfits. So I'm not surprised when they sent in this really great outfit. I was 100% not surprised that this was going to be a great outfit. But yeah, definitely some great stuff that you can accomplish in Guild Wars 2. The other outfit we got is actually our first Char outfit, which is pretty cool. Could always use more Char, of course. And this one is another one from Zero Kitsune, who sent us in a picture of their Char, and Zero Kitsune said, this is my Char warrior. This one, I'm including a picture of him running. The reason being, I've gotten a few messages from players stating that they confuse my character with a Dolyak. And looking at the picture of the character running, yeah, I can see that, because they have this big, like, backpack on their back, and Char being big and bulky. Yeah, it looks like a little Dolyak running around with a big pack on its back, which is kind of cute. But then there's also, like, knives sticking out of its shoulders, so that's less cute. But more Char.
I like the color choice.
I knew you would, Drax. You are a fan of the color red. There's Amber, Redemption, Celestial, Icing, Pewter, Pumpkin, and Whisper dye. So there's quite a range of colors, mostly red and orange, in this outfit.
Sounds like a food recipe.
Yeah, the Guild Wars 2 dyes are very appetizing. But yeah, so if you want to send us a outfit, feel free to send us a screenshot at contact@guildwarsplayers.com with the subject line weekly outfit, and we'll put it up on the site and we'll talk about it on this podcast. Because I like to look at pictures of pretty characters, so send them to me, please. Anyway, this week we are doing the lore book. We didn't do it last week because of the whole issue with recording. But the lore book is where we take a look at a place, character, race, or artifact and examine the lore surrounding it and why it's important to our gameplay. So this week, I was actually going to talk about the sword Sahothin, and Ethelros kind of made me backtrack because I was getting ahead of myself by like 2 or 3 steps, and I'm still a little bit ahead of myself, but we'll get to that in a minute. This week, I'm going to be talking about the Foe Fire, which occurred in 1090, so that's quite a while ago. That's more around the time of Guild Wars, the original game, maybe a little bit after. And basically, the searing had already happened, and yes, this is another thing where I realize I'm getting ahead of myself, and I'm going to be talking about the event of the searing in the next episode. But this event called the searing had already happened, and so the region of Ascalon was kind of in disarray. Humans were dying. It was not great. The Charr were winning. The Charr had already sacked the capital of Rin, and currently where Rin was is where the Black Citadel is, which is the Charr capital. So the Charr were, at this point, in 1090, in the process of sieging the new capital, Ascalon City, which you can get to in Guild Wars 2. It is in the Plains of Ashford in the 1 to 15 Charr zone. And in a desperate attempt to kill the Charr, King Adalbern, king of Ascalon, used his flaming sword, Magdare, which was made in Or, where the gods used to live, and he stabs it into the ground, and in doing so, he casts a spell, and he kills off all the Charr in Ascalon. Sounds pretty great for the Ascalonians. However, a side effect of doing so, it also killed all of the humans in Ascalon and turned them into ghosts. So now, if you go into Ascalon in Guild Wars 2, you'll see human ghosts everywhere, and they attack anyone regardless of whether they're humans or not, because as ghosts, they think everyone they see is a Charr trying to kill them and siege Ascalon, and so they kill everyone. So the Charr and pretty much everybody have been trying to find a way to get rid of these ghosts once and for all. That's a big part of the Charr personal storyline, and also some parts of the Living World story as well. So, yeah, ghosts are definitely a big part of the gameplay, especially if you play Charr. And if you go to Ascalon City in Guild Wars 2, you'll also see a big beam of light shooting up from the middle of the city into the sky, and that is the place where the Foe Fire happened. That is like the essence of the Foe Fire, I think they call it. So, that's the Foe Fire. Next week I'll talk about the Searing, which was something that happened before that, and kind of more about the history of Ascalon and the fighting between the Charr and the human. But in other news, Ethelros, what did you do in-game these past 2 weeks?
Played a lot of my Mesmer, actually. I got him to 35, so I could get my the cultural armor, because I was aiming to get that, because having normal clothes for a Sylvari is kind of weird. It's like a tree in a suit, but it just doesn't look right.
My tree's in a suit.
And it doesn't look right.
I never.
No. Yeah, so I did the personal story up to that point as well, and I ended up choosing the Dermond Priory for this character. It just seemed to fit my Mesmer the best. I did consider the Order of Whispers, but at least when I was playing through it, they kind of rubbed me the wrong way in how secretive they were, and kind of the attitude for certain things that they had, or at least the person who represented them did.
Right. Okay, so I was kind of alluding to this, we were talking about this a little bit before we started recording, and I didn't want to talk about it too much because I have lots of feelings about the people who introduce you to the orders when you start this. I feel like, regardless of whatever race you're doing, because I recently did this part of the story on my Norn as well, it seems like they just pick the worst possible representatives for each of these orders. They all seem not great. For the Sylvari, the Dermond Priory guy seems really pompous and the Dermond Priory knows all this stuff. Da, da, da. And the Vigil people are always oh, kill everything, blah. Especially in the Norn one. The Norn Vigil guy is a jerk. And the Order of Whispers people always seem like, we don't want to tell anybody anything. Bleh. So, yeah.
They seemed really kind of sadistic, at least when I was playthrough on the Sylvari. I don't know. That was just my perception of it.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I don't think they're any more sadistic than, say, Kate, but...
Well, Kate's a whole kettle of fish.
Yep, she is
sure, I'll
something.
experience more of that later.
Mm.
Yeah, so I did that. I also bought a total makeover kit and used
Very
that.
nice.
So I'm quite happy I did that because there's a lot of hairstyles and faces that the Sylvari get that you can't get in the normal character creation. So I'm happy I did that so my character doesn't look so goofy.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to call it.
Okay.
Yeah. Aside from that, I think I did complete the monthly achievement. I think the last
nice.
one that they're ever going to have.
Yeah.
Unless they reintroduce it. But yeah, so that was fun. Jumping puzzles for days. Which I'm sure you'll mention later too,
yes.
but yeah.
Yes.
And finally, I also made a human ranger because I was struggling to think of a character or race to make a ranger on. And I ended up deciding that the Norns just were too awkward to big look, not ugly and bulky. Like, I get they're meant to be big, but yeah, it just didn't mesh well with me.
For some reason, the male Norn especially, they just seem weird.
Yeah, like you can't imagine one of them as a mage. It's just like...
Right, yeah. It doesn't
scars and everything. Yeah, it's just weird. So I ended up making a human male ranger.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I am dealing with Nolan North, but you know, I'll make do.
Okay.
He has white hair too, because I just felt like it.
That's cool. Yeah. So Drac. Oh yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Drac, what did you get up to these past 2 weeks?
My Norn Ranger is now at level 52. Did my personal story up through what I could do. Am kind of getting bored with the Norn story. It started out okay, and now it's just kind of getting So maybe it'll pick up later. I don't know. I did a little bit of crafting. That's Huntsman is what my Ranger is. Still not really digging the whole Guild Wars 2 crafting thing, but I'm like slugging my way through it just so I can at least do one complete crafting tier, maybe, unless I give up on it, which will probably be the case.
I can't blame you for that.
My Asura Elementalist is now at level 33. Did my personal story because Felicia Day. I chose the Drummond Priory, and that is my big complaint with this section of the personal story. There was not enough Zosha and Felicia Day. What is going on?
No.
I need more Felicia Day in my personal story. Come on, Guild Wars, get on it.
Whatever shall we do?
He's in withdrawal.
Yeah.
My Human Necro. Cue the Necro hate from you two in 3, 2, 1.
Necro suck and stuff.
Is now at level 32. Did my personal story. Kind of getting bored with the human personal story too.
Yeah,
it's kind of my biggest problem with it is I don't want to say too much because I guess it might be spoilering stuff if people haven't done it, but there's one certain character that is in it a lot that is kind of key to the story that I cannot stand. He's like a moron.
Is it Lord Fair?
No, actually. He's
that's surprising.
Yeah, I won't say anymore because it will be spoiler, but he's just like a moron, and I'm like, oh, just shut up and tell her you love her already and get it over with. Anyway.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. I don't think that's spoilers. I think you can say who it is. I think it's fine to say it.
Yeah, it's just anyway. I chose Vigil on that one because I just basically wanted to run all 3, so I wouldn't have 3 of the same. I also finished my monthlies. I got my 1,000 point reward chest. So I picked a pretty sweet looking bow skin for my ranger, of course, for my reward that you could pick for that. And then in the original Guild Wars, they are doing their Winter's Day final right now, which basically is a whole event that runs every 3 hours in Lion's Arch. It's pretty sweet. You basically just stand, you pick which deity, either the good, which would be Dwayna, or the bad, which would be Greneth, that you want to support, and you stand on rings. And if you're standing on the ring that lights up, your deity gets a point, and whichever deity wins, some stuff happens, and then you get a bunch of presents fall from the sky, and you get free presents and free stuff. And the first time you do it, you get a Winter's Day weapon in your inventory, and it also goes for your lucky and unlucky titles, which will help you in Guild Wars 2. So I did that a couple times. I'm going to do that a couple more times tonight before that is over, and that is about all I did in game. How about you, Sithwith? What have you been up to?
I played so much Guild Wars 2 in the past 2 weeks. I mean, I play a lot of Guild Wars 2 generally, but it's holidays, so even more Guild Wars 2. So I got my Sylvari Ranger from level 9 to level 22, and I used a Total Makeover kit on him as well, because I love Total Makeover kits. And like Othello said, it's like the faces and some of the haircuts you can get from the Total Makeover kits, I think, are just way better than the options that are like the default options. I wish you could unlock those so that you could use them at character creation somehow. That would be really nice. But alas, you cannot. So my Sylvari Ranger is like a really short little Sylvari, and he's funny. But I also got my Sylvari Elementalist to level 50 from level 42, and I started working on catching him up on his personal story. And I also picked the Dermot Priory for him because he's just a nerdy Sylvari Elementalist. I got my Char Thief from 24 to 31. I hadn't played her for a while. I think because I just had a bad set of weapons that I didn't really like the skills for, and but now I've got a sword in my main hand and a pistol in the offhand, and she has a pirate outfit, so she's a pirate thief now, and that's exciting. So I've been playing her more. I got my Norn Guardian from level 35 to 42, and I picked the Vigil for her actually, and I haven't gotten around to doing the level 40 personal story, so I don't have a whole lot to say about that. But I do want to say, I did start the second round of personal story after the Dermot Priory for my Elementalist, and I like your little partner in the Order of Whispers, Tybalt, way better than Siren from the Dermot Priory. I miss Tybalt. He's awesome. That's all I'll say about that.
I just want to point out in the chat that Brandhild says #makeover players, and Kurel says #Fashion Wars 2.
These are accurate hashtags.
We're still working on cat players, so just want to pace things.
Yeah, we got to pace ourselves.
And the next one's going to be the #necro players.
No.
It'll happen.
If you want to do that by yourself, that's your choice.
Yep, you can go
I
do
ain't
that.
touching anything necro.
Yep. I also deleted my human warrior because, like Othelro said, and like Drex said, humans are just so boring. Their personal story is boring. They just look boring because they're just humans. Like, they don't have cool stuff going on with their hair or like any weird stuff. They're just boring. They're so boring. They're just vague. Like, they're just really general, slightly fantasy, medieval-y humans, and it's boring. So I'm not going to play humans anymore. Instead, I made a Sylvari warrior. I actually designed this character to look like jacaranda trees, because the jacaranda trees in New Zealand are in full bloom at the moment, and they're really cool looking because they're like they've got these like silvery brown trunks, and when they start to bloom, they don't actually have any regular green leaves on them. It just looks like a tree made out of purple flowers, basically, and they're super cool looking. So I made a warrior that looks, or is supposed to look like a jacaranda tree. And so I'm super pleased with him. He's got purple hair, and he's all silvery. Yeah, he's cool. I also did a whole lot of jumping puzzles, as Athelro said. We spent a lot of time doing jumping puzzles. Finally
been defeated.
Yeah, finally finished Dark Reverie, and I'm never doing that jumping puzzle ever again. Because, oh my gosh, I hate, there's just that one jump near the end, that just, like, you can sometimes jump up onto it, or try to jump up onto it, and if you fall, you can fall into this branch, but if you don't, you fall and you die, and then you have to do, like, if there's nobody there to res you, you have to go back, do the Morgan Spiral jumping puzzle, then go back through and do the rest of the Dark Reverie puzzle again, and then hope you don't die again.
Not to mention on the actual places you jump, there are a bunch of turrets that spawn around.
Yeah, there's turrets, there's Nightmare Court that spawn at the bottom. The only way I ended up finishing it actually was because Athelro stood at the bottom and res me every time I died, which was a lot. But yeah, we finally finished that. We did a couple other ones as well that were kind of weird. And yeah, I haven't done jumping puzzles in a few days because of it. What else? Let's see. I finished the Ghosts of Ascalon book. That was actually really good, but I think that also is kind of part of my whole, oh my god, I hate humans thing, because Drac, you've read the book. You know how it ends.
Mm-hmm.
The humans are stupid.
Mm-hmm. That's an understatement.
Humans are so stupid. Like, I can see why they're kind of like a dying race in this game, because they're just dumb. And yeah. So I started reading Edge of Destiny, which kind of chronicles the start of the Destiny's Edge Guild, which is Air Stegulkin and Ritlock Brimstone and Zoja and what's-his-face, Logan Thackeray, and Snaff. So that's interesting. I'm almost done with it. According to Kindle, I am 64% through it. So that'll be good, and then on to the next book after that. But I think that's about it. And yes, Pineleaf, humans are as dumb as rangers. It's true. Anybody have anything else to add about anything you did this week?
Nope.
Oh, I do want to say, my husband made a Asura Necromancer. So that happened.
Oh, that's a dilemma.
Yeah. That happened. Yeah. And it has an afro. So. So. Yeah. There's a lot going on with that. Anyways, back to podcast stuff. Since we are a brand new site, we are still looking to build our ranks for the site, and we'd love to have some more content creators that are passionate about Guild Wars or Guild Wars 2. Whether you write articles or fan fiction or make video guides or create fan art or whatever it is you do, whether you're new to the games like us, because remember we are new to these games, or a longtime veteran, we'd love to have your help contributing to Guild Wars Players. So you can send in your sample content to contact@guildwarsplayers.com, and please include the name you wish to go by on the site, your content type, or anything else you think you need to tell us about that kind of stuff. We have not received any Patreon donations, but we would love your support. To help support Guild Wars Players, simply go to the donations page, where you can support the Players Alliance, which is the network we are a part of, on Patreon. There you'll find rewards, including a mention or guest spot on this very podcast. We still have not received any iTunes reviews, but we sure would love to have them, so if you are feeling the need to tell everybody about how much you love this podcast, go on over to iTunes and give us a review. We do have some featured comments, though. Braxwolf commented on Guild Wars Players News number 3. It's really great to hear a new player perspective as a new player to Guild Wars 2. One thing that's exceedingly difficult to do as a longtime player / podcaster is to convey basic information over and over again, so that it's understandable and not overwhelming to the newbie. It's easy to fall into the trap of assuming that everybody is at the same level that you are and has had similar in-game experiences. As a veteran player / podcaster for a different game and also a newbie to Guild Wars 2, I've seen both sides of this coin. The ideal situation seems to be to find a podcast that is discovering the game at the same time as, or slightly ahead of you. Luckily for me, I found that sweet spot with this podcast. Keep up the great work, my friends. Thank you, Braxwolf, aka Braxwood. We also got an in-game mail from Particle Shift. I received this in-game, and it says, "Greetings, podcaster Sithryth. Here are some vials of dye. Yep, definitely not industrial waste from my lab. Definitely dyes. You like all the pretty colors, and a splash of this will definitely make your materials colored. This gift is provided by the Arcane Council. PR representative of the Arcane Council, Particle Shift." Well, that should take care of my community service for that mishap. Now back to, are you still recording? Stop dictation, you obsolete construct. I should dismantle you. So thanks, Particle Shift. Particle Shift also kindly attached some vials of dye for me, and I do indeed like the pretty colors, and they did indeed make my materials colored. So
you did check for side effects before you used them, right?
I haven't noticed anything yet.
Apparently, I hate of humans.
Well, okay, this is true. I have grown to hate humans a lot since receiving this mail. So that's a potential side effect, human hatred. So watch out for that. You can contact us by emailing us at podcast@guildwarsplayers.com if you have any questions, concerns, or whatever. And you can follow all of us on Twitter. You can follow the Players Alliance Network at Players Ally on Twitter. You can follow Guild Wars Players at GW Players. You can follow me at Sithryth, and in-game it's Sithryth.6741. Draculetta is at Draculetta_72, and his in-game name is at Draculetta.7401. And Ethelros is at Ethelros, and his in-game name is at Ethelros.3164. You can follow all the Players Alliance live shows. Mondays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern is the DDO Players News. Thursdays is at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, the Guild Wars Players News, which is this show, in case you didn't realize. And Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern is Lotro Players News. You can go and check out all these live shows at guildwarsplayers.com/live. And thank you very much for listening. And this is Sithryth reminding you to look before you leap.